Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our speaker circle. It's leesaaskew, and today I'm joined with Mr. Dereklott.
Hi, everyone. Evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Derek, for joining us. Derek is the current reigning champ of District 84 for our international speech competition. Phenomenal speech. And he also is the author of one of my favorite books, Say It Well. So Derek, thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about what got you into speaking and how your book, just a little background.
Well, just as part of my career, I've spoken for a number of years. So I've done presentations formally and otherwise. But about 7 years ago, a couple of friends invited me to a Toastmasters meeting, and I reluctantly accepted. And when I attended the meeting, I picked up some things. I learned a few tips, and I said, you know what? Hey, I'm never above learning anything, picking up a new tip or two. So I hung around and started realizing there was so much more to speaking, because speaking is a skill that impacts every area of your life. Professional, personal, spiritual, social, you name it. Communications is at the heart of getting anything that you want to influence to happen in life, period. I found no other skill that will cut across so many areas of your life. So that kind of led to being more involved in Toastmasters and participating in competitive speaking. Actually, your win in 2018 gave me really the kind of courage to take the next step, because I've competed in the past, but really this whole concept of vulnerability, connecting with your audience, it takes a special knack to do that. And when I saw you win in 2018, as you know, I reached out and said, hey, would you coach me in 2019? And it paid in spades. So I often encourage people to look for a coach, someone that can help you in the developmental areas of your life. And so here I am now, having taken those skills, put it into a book for others, and really using that to build a platform to help others on a global scale.
Well, that is impressive. And it was so much fun working with you. We had one other person, and I was very honored when you asked for me to help coach, because you're such an accomplished speaker and you do this on a regular basis. And I think the only thing we really had to break through on was some vulnerability. And I know that once you crack that shell, it was like the sky was the limit. Which brings us to today's topic. We are talking about how to create endless content. So tell our viewers, and thank you everyone for joining us. So we really appreciate it. But tell our viewers a little bit about just content. I know you say that effective communication is so important. So give us some gems and how Dereklott stays so successful.
Be happy to. I think it starts with this whole challenge that we have of the fear of public speaking. And although I don't offer you a foolproof solution, I do offer you an idea. And the idea is this: fear is driven by the unknown. And how we drive out fear is through confidence and understanding and gaining insight into what we're really faced with. So for example, when you're going up to speak to someone, if you really don't know what you're going to say, if you haven't prepared, so to speak, done any pre-work and so forth, it can be a daunting task to walk up to someone. Now imagine that's magnified by 100, 1,000. It can be very nerve-wracking. So understanding that if we build our confidence, we can have an influence on our fear of public speaking. So how do we improve confidence? When we understand that effective communications, it's a skill, and we really invest in improving that skill, what we start to realize is that there's some things we can do fundamentally to improve our communication skills. And one is content, developing the content that will connect with your audience. So often I run into people that say, I don't really know what to talk about. I'm not very interesting. And, so I don't really have a lot of content. So what they end up doing is looking for content outside themselves, researching topics and trying to find things that are not resident in them. And the key to connection is experience. It's the stories that we've built out over the course of our lives. Without that content, you have no connection because you haven't experienced it. It's the experience that brings that ability to connect with someone else and say, I've lived through that. So when we talk about content, I want you to understand that the central theme, the place, the well where you're going to dig up that content is you. And behind me, I have this little graphic that starts with right in the center, you. And when I build out content, I like to call it a tree of content. I do this exercise periodically, and I start with myself. And I think about what content do I have within me? And I break that down into an acronym. And that acronym is FORM, F-O-R-M. F stands for family. O stands for occupation. You can substitute that for education as well. R stands for recreation. And then the M stands for message. Now, if you start thinking about your experiences in these areas, you will start to drum up stories and insights that will be valuable for others. For example, let's think about family.
I was going to say, I love that because all these things that you're giving us, the form, everyone has that. You have family, you have an occupation or education, you do something recreational and message. So let's start with the F, family.
Yeah, so family, we think about our parents, we think about grandparents, we think about aunts, uncles, we think about growing up, going to the family reunion, maybe it's picnics, maybe your family went camping. You have tons of experiences with your family. You have particular family members that you could tell 100 stories. I have uncles that I could talk about for hours. So just in family alone, you will have experiences. I often think about my mom, and we celebrated Mother's Day a couple of days ago. And, my mom's been gone for about 27 years. But even for the short period of time that I had my mom, I have incredible stories. My mom was an amazing cook. My mom was smart. She was intelligent. And my mom didn't mess around. So I could talk about stories growing up with my mom, endearing stories. I can talk about challenging stories just related to my mom. Now going on to siblings and uncles and aunts, is you get the drift. Whenever you think about content, start with you. Now, if we move over to occupation, I've been in the workforce for 30 years, and I've developed a platform around several key areas that I have a skill set in, whether that's negotiation skills, whether that's process management, whether that's personal and professional development. Those are things I could talk to you about ad nauseum. Now, I'm not saying your audience wants to hear that, but it gives you a place to unearth your content.
Nice, occupation. And then you said education too. So stories of school from elementary all the way if you went to graduate school.
You have those teachers that you can't forget because they taught you something. Why not share that with someone else that might glean the same thing? I had an experience with a coach. I was with my son at a football game, and a coach said to a kid, he says, "Don't take what they give you, take what you want." And that resonated with me, and I've used it ever since. When I talk about goal setting, don't take what life gives you, take what you want. And I adopted that for myself. So there's content always coming to you. Every day you have new content. And if you're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, the content is endless that is being deposited in you. The content that comes in you, that takes hold, that is experiential, that's the content you want to look into to tell those great stories to your audience.
Wow. And then you said the O is the R, which you just shared with us.
So R, we move into recreation. We always have fun for this one. And I want to get a little bit of engagement from the listeners. If you will, in the comments, give your favorite vacation, or if you've got a special hobby, let me know, write that down and put it in the comments if you're willing to share, because content comes from our experiences, and we all have those great vacation spots that we've gone to. Forget about where we want to go. Think about where we've been, even if it's a staycation that you've taken. Even if it's some vacation you took in state, it doesn't have to be elaborate.